This is Lisa Tucker, host of The Book Cover, which showcases local literary personalities. So listen to The Book Cover on the borderline. And remember, don't judge a book by its cover. Hi, you're listening to The Borderline. We are The Book Cover. I'm Lisa Tucker. Today I have first-time book writer, author, Patricia F. Baker. Welcome, Patricia.
Welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. And your first book called Stone Journey. Now, when I was reading and doing some research on your book, they say write what you know, but you not only did that, you are writing what you really know. It sounds like, yeah. So I want to get a little bit into your background. So you've worked as a nurse for how long?
I'm still a practicing nurse part-time, believe it or not, but I graduated from the Ottawa Civic Hospital School of Nursing in 1972.
Wow.
And then I came home here to the Sioux and got a job at the old General Hospital that's now decommissioned. And
you've seen some things.
I've seen lots of things, and I've worked in different areas, so I'm still practicing, not at the bedside anymore, but I do teach at Sioux College clinical nursing for the practical nurse program.
Very nice. So when I said you are writing what you really know, because your book is a little bit about healthcare and your journey as a nurse, as a patient, and as a caregiver. So tell us about your time. Well, tell us about why you wanted to write this book.
I thought about it for a very long time. I was diagnosed with rectal cancer in January of 2013. And, I'd had some obvious symptoms. They didn't go on for very long before I sought help because I knew something was wrong. Personally, but being a nurse as well, the symptoms kind of stood out.
Right.
And so I began my journey with diagnostic interventions and then diagnoses. And 14 months later, after everything was completed, I went back to work. And that was I think it was in February 2014. And it was always swirling around in the back of my head that I wanted to write a book to help others and document it. And I had kept meticulous journals throughout my treatment and surgeries. I'd had 2 surgeries. And I kept looking at these after everything was done. And I thought, gee, I can help people. I think I really can. And I put my own experience into my patient care.
Right.
Because I'd actually had the experience that some of my patients were facing.
You had the other side as a benefit. Yeah.
Yeah. And it took me 10 years to actually write the book and get it published. Because I just keep putting it down and putting it away. Because I was busy, I was working shift work and had family, and my husband had developed some health issues of his own that became chronic. So I was his caregiver, and I also, helped him get through the healthcare system because he didn't have a lot of knowledge of what was happening to him, and I did. So I advocated for him. So I put it all together and I thought, I can advocate for cancer patients.
Sure.
I've been in the bed, I've been beside the bed, and I think I can help. So that's kind of, I started my notes and just started writing a chapter at a time. And then last year it was ready to be published.
Wow. And who published?
It was, let me see here. I've got it right here. It's local. It's a local, Christopher Schaust?
Yes.
Yeah, he did. So it was Lost Telegram Press.
Yes.
Yeah, so he edited it and then he published it, and it came out in July of 2025.
We're so lucky. People don't realize we've got 3 book publishers here in Sault Ste. Marie.
Really? I didn't know there was the other two. I knew Christopher.
We've got three altogether. We've got Type A Media, and we've got to go into press as well. We are so lucky, and we almost need that many for the amount of creatives that we have in our city writing books.
Hmm.
I think I'm almost at 150 episodes for this show, and
Wow.
I've only there's only a handful of people I've interviewed a multiple amount of times.
Hmm.
And these books, a lot of them I read. Some of them I don't because I just don't have time, or I'm not interested in the genre or whatever. But a lot of the books I read, and they don't read like a local book. They read like something I could have gotten from anywhere.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
we've got a lot of talent.
Well, that's good.
So now your book can is it just now Stone Journey? Is it for any cancer patient? Will it help any cancer patient, or specifically the type of cancer that you had?
I think I think in general it could help any cancer patient. My cancers were specific. In fact, I was diagnosed with the rectal cancer in January and began treatment, had surgery, and then went back into treatment again. And 4 months after that, I went home after treatment and found a lump in my right breast,
Oh wow!
which was not a spread. It was a
Oh
new primary cancer.
wow!
And so I had to stop all of my treatment for the rectal cancer and begin treatment for the breast cancer and have surgery. And my oncologist, said that because of all of the radiation, the chemotherapy, the surgery had tanked my, my system and my body
Oh
so
sure,
much
yeah.
that it just left me wide open to anything that was possible to
Wow,
happen. And I got breast cancer. So I had both of them.
you really so you had both of them almost at the same. You had them at the same time,
Yeah, 4 months apart.
and at this time was your husband sick?
Well, he wasn't really sick. Like he was able to live life. He was able to, function, go places, drive his truck, and do all that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that he had limitations.
Okay.
He had COPD,
Okay. Yep.
so breathing kind of limited him in many ways. But he was still able to live life and everything. And we had a trailer that we had parked down at Pinecrest in Thessalon, and we'd go there in the summer and everything. So it wasn't that we couldn't get away and live life.
Right. He wasn't bedridden.
No,
Yeah. Well,
no,
that's good. Yeah,
no,
that's good.
no. He
So
has since died, though.
yes, I did read that. I'm very sorry to
Yeah,
hear that. How
yeah.
how much later after you went through your health scares did your husband pass?
Well, he this is how the story evolved again. Now
Okay.
this what I'm going to explain now happened after the book was published and during the publication of the book. But last um, spring, I'd been cancer free all that time
Mm-hmm.
until 2025, the spring of 2025. And my book was being published, so I was excited about that. But I started having symptoms of gallbladder disease, which was diagnosed, and it didn't get better. And I went back to the doctor and I said, something's wrong. I said, I'm having trouble swallowing.
Oh my goodness.
And, my husband was starting to require more care with the COPD and circulation problems, but he was still at home and functioning.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I was diagnosed. I went to a surgeon. I was diagnosed in March last year of cancer of the esophagus.
You've had cancer 3 times in different
Yes,
places.
yes, all in the gastrointestinal tract.
Wow.
And so, with that, I'm having my book published. My husband's condition is worsening, and he ended up in hospital, Sioux Area Hospital, and he was diagnosed as being palliative at that point in time. It went very, very quickly,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm fighting my own thing here,
Oh.
and uh, once again, had radiation, had chemotherapy at the cancer clinic here in the Sioux, and then I was referred to a surgeon in Sudbury
Mm-hmm.
at Health Sciences North. And the cancer was caught very early,
Thank goodness.
stage 1,
Thank
because
goodness.
I just knew something was not right. And I think this is what the book is all about, is advocating for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
learning how to say something's wrong
Yeah.
and I need help.
Yeah.
I don't know what you can order for me, but I need help.
Yeah.
Something's not right, and you keep advocating until you get what you think you need.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I was able to do. And I ended up having surgery, having my esophagus removed,
Wow.
pulling the stomach up.
Oh, geez.
And I did very, very well because I don't smoke.
Do you
I
eat a
don't
lot of
drink.
smoked foods?
No.
What do they attribute all this to?
Well, this is the surprising thing. My oncologist here in the Sioux said to me, she said, I want you to do a workman's compensation claim because she said this could be occupational.
How so?
I worked at Algoma Steel in the medical department at the beginning of my career back in the early to mid to late 70s. And we did x-ray. We didn't have x-ray technicians in the medical department. We nurses did hundreds of x-rays because anybody that came into the medical clinic, if they were injured, they had an x-ray.
Mm-hmm.
And so back in the 70s, things aren't like they are now
No lead
with
rooms, no lead
precautions.
aprons.
No, we just did them. And I did that for 5 years. And then I went back to the hospital and working with cancer patients, chemotherapy. We didn't have the precautions you have now.
Right.
We'd get it all over our hands when we were mixing it. We'd wipe it up off the floor.
Wow.
We'd breathe it, and so she felt that it could be occupational
Right.
rather than genetic.
Wow.
So I'm in the process of recording everything that I can
Wow.
possibly remember
Yeah. Geez.
about my
After
career.
that long, you started in 72, you said?
Hmm.
Yeah. Wow. That's
Yeah,
54 years ago.
yeah.
Wow.
And there's no family history.
Oh, wow.
That was the other thing that
Right.
kind of made her think,
Mm-hmm.
although I can't really say that that's what it is, but um, they've been caught, they've been cured. I have a very, very positive prognosis for the esophageal cancer. Um,
Very good. Congratulations
because
on
it was
that.
caused, yeah, because it was caught early as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that with the book, I I really hope when someone reads it that they can get from the wording that I've used that don't ignore what
Mm-hmm.
your body is telling you.
Is that one of the key things that you want to stress from the book? Is that one of the key things you want people to get out of the book?
Yes,
Listen to your
is your
body.
listen to your body because your body tells you things. Don't
Right.
ignore them.
Mm-hmm.
And I've looked after so many patients, especially older generations, that know something's wrong, but they don't want to know.
Yeah.
And they could be helped.
Yeah. Head in the sand.
You know,
If they don't know about it, it's not happening.
that's right.
Yeah.
And so I try to get that across. And with all of this going on and going to surgery, I had surgery the 19th of August. My husband had been dead a month already. So we'd buried my husband.
Oh.
My sons were devastated, of course. We all were, because they were close to their dad.
Mm-hmm.
They were all tradesmen, so they had, things in common that they could
Sure.
talk about,
Oh, tradesmen are special guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was terrible. It was a terrible year. And then my book is being published. So it, it really made me think and hope that the way I wrote the book, hopefully, that it will help people, because cancer, everybody deals with it differently.
Right.
It's your own journey. and you deal with it differently. It's like being
Yes.
hit
It doesn't come in
by a
slowly.
truck.
Yes.
No.
I did I did experience a little bit of that. My stepmother, she was going through some testing, and because I
Hmm.
have a little bit of a medical background in education, she said, "Well, will you come to my appointment with me?" And I said, "Sure." Here I'm just thinking I'll just explain some things to her, blah blah blah. Well,
Hmm.
before we went into that doctor's office, she didn't have cancer. When we left, she had cancer.
She did.
It
Yeah.
comes and sits right down on your face and plops itself down and makes itself comfortable. It does not ease in. It comes in
No,
with a crash.
that's right.
Yes, because one moment you don't have cancer. Well, you don't think you have cancer. Your reality is
That's
one
right.
thing. And the next moment you have cancer and your reality is forever changed.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yep. Your whole life is changed, and it's like a disaster.
Yep.
It's like, why me?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you weren't chosen. You're just it's life. It's the way things are. But I think that, you know, hopefully anyone that reads the book will understand that you have to advocate for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to pay attention, like I said earlier, what your body is telling you. Don't ignore it, and get help. And I feel really, really sad for all, the Canadians that do not have a family doctor.
Yes.
That makes the struggle even harder to even get answers.
Yep.
And
Mm-hmm.
how do they feel? Like,
Yep.
I can't even imagine how they feel not having to go and sit in an emergency department
Oh, emergency
for
departments are the
hours.
worst. They are the
Yeah,
worst. And not
they are.
and we've I have another podcast called The Superior View, where we talk about things that Northern Ontario women are interested in, and we talked about healthcare, and it has nothing to do with the staff. The staff is amazing.
Mhm. Mhm.
As I had told you before we started recording, I just had my experience with the healthcare system, and
Mhm.
the staff, the doctors, the nurses, everybody, right to the janitors, to the meals, everybody's
Yes.
wonderful. It's our
Yeah,
system that's broken,
it
not the
is.
people.
No.
Yeah.
No, that's very, very true, and I can say the same. And basically what I did was, when I got into my care and my care providers were telling me what they were going to do and what I had to do, I was very, very diligent
Mm-hmm.
in following through what they were asking me to do, because they were spending all this time
Mm-hmm.
caring for me and trying to get me well. And the least that I could do is respect that
Yes.
and be cooperative.
Yes.
And, yes, I was having pain when I had surgery. They wanted me to walk. Well, I did,
Yep. Yep.
and it just, and I was polite.
Mm-hmm. And
I'm,
did you ask lots of questions, Patricia? Even though you're a nurse and you
yeah,
probably knew a lot of the things, did you ask a lot of questions? Because you're allowed to. I don't know if patients know that they're allowed to ask questions.
that's a very good question
Yeah.
on your part, because that's part of my book as well, is don't be afraid to ask questions,
Mm-hmm.
because you need the answers to enable you to know what to do,
Mm-hmm.
and they're guiding you. And don't just take everything for granted. If you don't understand something, ask for an explanation.
Yeah. Or, we
And
all have Google now.
mhm,
Just, now I always say don't do Dr. Google where you're diagnosing
that's right.
yourself. But if the
That's
doctor
right.
gives you a term, maybe you have a condition, or maybe you're having this type of treatment and it's a term that you don't recognize or you don't know,
Hmm.
ask. And if you're still not happy or you don't understand from the explanation, Google it.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't Google because sometimes Google can be misunderstood,
Yes, you're right.
especially if you don't have a medical background.
Mm-hmm.
It can be misunderstood.
Mm-hmm.
My advice is to just go back to your healthcare provider and just ask, say, I don't understand. And I find, to having been in healthcare for so long, coming through healthcare, I found that patients sometimes feel intimidated to ask questions.
Yes.
They don't want to come across as not being, understanding what they're
Yes.
being told.
Yes.
And they feel sometimes intimidated because, when I first started nursing, physicians were the gods.
Yeah. And
And we
it's
were
not
the
like
little,
that anymore.
no, it's not like
I
that
mean,
anymore.
healthcare is so complicated that you can
Hmm.
have 1,000 people with the same symptoms and none of them having the same condition, or the
That's
other
right.
way around, 1,000 people with the same condition that don't have the same symptoms.
That's right.
And this doctor, this human being, is supposed to know all this?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. They can't answer your questions unless they know what you're asking and
Mm-hmm.
the reasons why.
Yeah.
And I had an advantage because I am a nurse, and I found this was an advantage to me because I medicine has its own language. It's
Yes.
not French and English. It's its own language. So I was able to communicate with my caregivers in the medical terminology and the medical language. They were able to answer me back the same way.
Yes.
So the conversation went more smoothly. The information was accurately shared between us because we knew what each other was saying. The
Yes.
general public does not have that advantage, and I find that things can kind of get mixed up or a little bit hazy because of that.
Yes. Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah,
And another thing that people don't realize, and I just did this when I had my health issues this past fall. I went to emergency,
mhm,
and I knew there was something neurologically wrong with me, and
mhm.
they thought I had C. diff, and they sent me
Okay.
home with a thing so I could do a sample and this and that. I knew it wasn't that. I
Mhm,
knew it wasn't. So I went to my GP and I said, now this had been twice I had gone to Emerge, and they didn't check me in, but I was very, very sick, very sick. I had a fever of 103, very
oof.
sick. And so I went to my doctor. I said, please help me. I am not getting anywhere going to Emerge. Please help. And he wrote a letter. And I
Mhm.
went back to Emerge for the third time with that letter. And that's when they checked me in. And I was there
Yeah.
for 2 months. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's not the first time I've done that. I did that about 8 years ago. I had complications due to a surgery.
Mhm.
And I went in about a month post surgery, and I was having severe pain. And they said, "Oh, you just have to poop." I said, "No, that's not what it
Yeah.
is." Anyway, again, I went to my doctor. I said, "This is so painful. I've never had this before." He ended up writing a letter. I went in. I had a
Mhm.
hematoma that burst, and I was in
Mm.
longer than I was for the original surgery.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
these two times, like, these are some very serious things. I'm not saying that the doctors are idiots or anything like that. They can get it wrong. But we as
Yeah.
human beings, we are the boss of our own bodies.
That's right. We
We've
are.
we've got to get this right because it's for us.
That's right.
Yeah.
And some, like I said, the general public sometimes they have a very hard time doing that
Yeah.
because they think they're being a bother,
Yeah.
or and it's a misinterpretation that I think in general patients need to overcome.
Yeah. Agreed.
And I just hope that my experience, like, maybe I'll write another book about my latest experience. I don't know, but I do find that communication with your caregivers, because it's a two-way street. It's a relationship. The
Mhm.
patient and the physician or the nurses, that is a relationship,
Yes.
and and relationships have to be um, conducted in a certain way, and one of them is being an advocate for yourself, and the other one is respect.
Absolutely.
You cannot go into a room and start pounding a table and demanding things. It's just, you know,
Absolutely.
it's a relationship, and relationships are built on trust, and they're built on communication.
Mhm.
Those are the most vital parts of relationship. A nurse-patient relationship, a doctor-patient relationship, and that relationship grows that way.
Agreed.
and
Yeah.
you pass information back and forth, and it's more successful that way. And we both have responsibilities to each other,
Absolutely. Now,
you know?
before we lose time, I have to ask you about your artwork.
Okay,
Tell me about the cover of your book. Did you do that?
I did.
And that's a painting or a photography?
No, that's a painting.
So you do. So you've also got this other little artistic, creative side to you as well.
Yes, I've been an artist forever,
Mm-hmm.
a starving artist. If I wasn't a nurse, I'd be a starving
Starving.
artist, like
Okay.
most artists are.
Yes.
But I do go in art shows. I didn't last year because last year was a disaster, but
Yes.
with
You
my
get a
new stuff.
pass. You
But
get a pass for
I get a
last year.
pass.
Yep.
But yes, I'm also I'm an artist. I go into art shows. I do paintings. I sew. I make purses and bags out of leather, and I do embroidery on them. So I do that, and those are all available. Well, they're on my website. You'd be able to see them on my website.
And so
And
people. Oh, go ahead.
I'm also I work for Jeffrey Ogler at the Sioux Star Post Media,
Okay.
and I'm a columnist
Yes, I did
with
know that.
Post Media.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I do that for writing.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that because I had a very hard time learning how to read and write when I was a youngster, and I got teased and chased away from school and had things thrown at me by the teacher.
Oh, geez. Thank goodness it's a
Yeah,
different time.
like way back in the 1950s.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank goodness it's a different time.
Yeah, for sure. So I just kind of, went into writing, and I started by writing poetry. So I have the artistic side of me as well, which has been a godsend
Mm-hmm.
because that's where I go.
That's your mental break.
Yeah,
Yep. I get it.
that,
And all
that's
of
where I
your
go.
art, all of your leather pieces, and also your book, Stone Journey, can all be got from your website. And I'll just say it now, www.rainmakerscreativeworks.ca.
That's
And
correct.
I did go onto the site, and so many beautiful things. You've got postcards, and you've done them
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
Wow.
Well, I have them printed. I don't print them.
No, but you've created them all.
Oh, yes, yes. I've
Yes.
created them all. And Suzanne Shoust,
Mm-hmm.
Chris's wife, is
Yes.
the one that at Great Lakes Graphics that does all my printing for me. So I keep it in the family there.
You're keeping it local. It's all local. I love
Yeah,
that. This is
yeah.
it's all locally printed and done and
Hmm.
created, and I love that. And how
Yeah.
much is your book going for?
24.99.
And are there any locations in Sault Ste. Marie where people can just walk in and grab a copy, or is it only from your website?
From my website, but I will have them at the art shows that I'm going to be participating in.
Okay.
And I have been accepted into the Bush Plain Museum Art and Craft Show in November.
No, but that's a big one.
That's a big one. So
Yeah.
I was accepted last year, but last year was a write-off.
Yeah. Again, you
So
get
I
a
got
pass,
in.
Patricia. You get a pass for last year.
I get a pass.
Yeah.
So I got back into that. I was in Sylvan Circle for 10 years, but
Oh,
I
wow.
wasn't accepted last year, and I don't think I'm going to apply this year. So I'm applying for Art at the Dock in Hilton Beach, which I have been a regular participant in, except for last year.
How did you
And
manage to
then
work? Where did you stick that in? Because you just seem so busy.
I know I am busy, but the last part of my career at the hospital, I worked in ambulatory care for 13 years. So
Hmm.
I worked Monday to Friday and weekends off. So it was no shift work for the last 13 years of my
Oh,
career. So
nice.
made
That's
it a lot
nice.
easier.
Very
Yeah.
nice. Very nice.
And then I'm going to be doing Elliott Lake Arts on the Trail.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Yeah. What
so
I feel
there'll
like, what
be
am I doing with my time? I feel like a lazy a-hole for not doing
oh
enough with
my
my
goodness.
time. Anyway,
I just because of having cancer so many times, I have to keep busy,
mm,
and especially now that I lost my husband, I really have to keep busy
Yeah.
because it just, your mind kind of just goes crazy.
It's better for you. Stone Journey. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for talking with us about your debut novel. You can get the Stone Journey at www.rainmakerscreativeworks.ca. And well, I can't wait to see your next one. See what you have coming up next. And I hope to see you at one of the artist shows. Thanks so much, Patricia Baker, for joining us today.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been listening on The Borderline. This is The Book Cover. I'm Lisa Tucker, and remember, don't judge a book by its cover.
Hi, I'm Patricia Baker, and I've just completed writing a book entitled Stone Journey, and it's about my cancer journey. It's an interesting book. It can be purchased through my website, www.rainmakerscreativeworks.ca, and you can listen to my podcast on The Book Cover with Lisa Tucker.